Hey everyone! So a few weeks ago I told you guys to send me your Homelabs. No matter how small, big, crazy, super overkill or like very downscale, just send them over. And so in this video I'm going to react to y'all's Homelabs, and yeah, I actually haven't seen any of those. I've seen a few, but I haven't seen all of them. And so this is gonna be a raw, genuine, unscripted reaction video, you know, just like a lot of YouTubers do. So I guess we're gonna try it out and see how it goes. So let's take a look at you guys' Homelabs right after word from today's sponsor, Brilliant.org. Brilliant is where you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in math, data analysis, programming, and AI. It features tons of educational content, handcrafted by an award-winning team of teachers, researchers, and professionals from MIT, Caltech, Duke, Microsoft, Google, and so on. Brilliant also makes it super easy to learn on the go, making sure that you can dive into a new topic whenever you have free time in your busy day. Their programming lessons, for example, let you get familiar with Python and start building programs on day one. You'll also learn essential programming concepts like loops, variables, and conditionals, and develop your mind to think like a programmer. So go ahead and try Brilliant today. You can get access to the full library of content for 30 days, free of charge, by visiting brilliant.org/Wolfgang. And as my viewer, you also get a lifetime 20% off Brilliant Premium. So thank you Brilliant for sponsoring today's video, and now let's take a look at you guys' Homelabs. So this one is from Fabian, aka Step Sysadmin.
Oh my god, stop bro, I'm stuck!
And let's take a look at the pictures. So we got what looks to be like a mid-tower case from Fujitsu at the bottom. And then we have a Fritzbox router and what appears to be a Wi-Fi access point on top of the tower. And yeah, as you can see, this is a Fujitsu Esprimo with a Core i5 sticker. And this is a Proxmox instance that is running on the Fujitsu machine, and as you can see there are a lot of VMs, a lot of containers as well, so it's not a super beefy machine, but as you can see it's definitely enough. You know, CPU is chilling at 12% usage, RAM is like at 80%, so kind of goes to show that, you know, even if you have a machine that is relatively old and, you know, relatively like not beefy or whatever, it can be enough for all the stuff that you're running. As you can see, Fabian is running a lot of containers here, so yeah. And the description says that the total measured power draw as of latest testing was 21 watt idle, 2070 watt average, and 60 watt full chooch. Build history. Well, my ProLiant DL380G6 was too loud and way too power hungry, plus space constraints. It's now a phenomenal setup to hide under the table in the living room. So yeah, as I already said, you know, this goes to show that you don't need much to run all of your stuff, and you know, it's a pretty nice setup, I think. The next Homelab is from Niels, so let's take a look at the pictures. We got a 3D printer right here with some stuff around it. I think it looks like a Raspberry Pi or some other SBC. We got an image called ARM case, and yep, that's basically what it is. It's an ARM case, so you got a Raspberry Pi 5 and some other SBCs around there, and a very janky power supply setup. We got the back of the table with basically a cable salad, a little bit of dust, so yep, proper janky for sure. We got a dual CPU server motherboard, at least that's what it looks like. And we got a rack case with a bunch of, it might be hard drive caddy slots, I'm not entirely sure. And yep, this is another motherboard. Everything is on a table, no case, no nothing. And this one is called True NAS. So we got, once again, a bare motherboard, some ketchup and mustard cables, a 3D printed holder for hard drives, and a power supply on the right. So let's take a look at the description. Hey Wolfgang, love your videos. You asked for jank, you shall receive. And yes, I think we were not disappointed in that regard for sure. This is my Homelab. Starting with TrueNAS Scale server on the top, sporting an Intel Core i5-4460, ASRock H81M DGS V2 motherboard, 16 gigs of DDR3 memory, Kingston SSD, 3 hard drives, the drive cages are 3D printed. So the big rack case, which has what looks to be like a PCIe slots or hard drive slots, I'm not sure, seems to be a GPU server for AI experiments. It's got an AMD EPYC 3151, 60 gigs of DDR4 RAM, and 2 NVIDIA Tesla cards. So yeah, that's pretty nice actually. And in the ARM case, you got 2 Odroid XU4 SBCs, 1 Raspberry Pi 5, and 1 Raspberry Pi 3. And so this is mostly used for experimentation with Docker, Kubernetes, and Ansible. So yeah, that's pretty neat. The power consumption is at 100 watts most of the time, but with everything running and being used, it gets up to 700 watt to 1 kilowatt.
Mamma mia, that's a spicy meatball!
So yeah, definitely not like super power efficient / low power, but at the same time, it is a lot of hardware, so that's just how it is, I guess. So the next submission is from Martin, and we got a kitty, so bonus points for that right away. Not much to see here otherwise, so let's take a look at the next picture. We got 3 custom keyboards, really nice keycaps, really love it. And so these seem to be ortholinear keyboards, kind of like Planck or Prionic, I think the second one is called. And here we got an NZXT H1 at the top, so this is a Mini TX tower style case. And under the table is where most of the action is happening actually. We got a Zima board with a NIC connected to it via PCIe. This seems to be an external hard drive and also a DAS. And on top, I think those are NUCs, those are Intel NUCs, I'm not sure. And on the second picture, you can also see that there's a Raspberry Pi on the switch. So let's take a look at the description. Hey Wolfgang, been enjoying your content for a while now, and I'm very much into Homelabs. Here's my current contraption. Intel NUC 12, Pi KVM, Zima board running pfSense with 2 NIC PCIe board, extra janky, 4 SSD enclosure, 1 external hard drive that has snapshots and cold storage backups, Raspberry Pi running NixOS, still waiting for a purpose. Raspberry Pi running NixOS, respect for that. Bonus pic of my cat while installing pfSense and my family of OL keybs. So these do seem to be Planck / Prionic style keyboards from OLKB. And yeah, like I said, really nice keyboards, you know, props for that. And a cat is always great to see in those submissions. So yeah, all in all, when it comes to the Homelab, it's very compact, you know, fits on the table. It does seem to be pretty janky, obviously, but at the same time, with the amount of hardware, that's not actually a lot of cables. So, you know, props for that, props for cable management, and props for the compact size. Really like that. So all in all, a great Homelab. Nothing else to say really. So the submission number 4 is from Alice. So let's take a look at the pictures. This looks like a 3D printer. This looks like a power consumption. So 1 kilowatt of power per day, what it seems like. And this is the start of the show. So we once again got a bare motherboard, just some hard drives just kicking around in a 3D printer enclosure with a fan strapped to it with rubber bands or something. I've only gone through like a few of these for now, but I'm starting to see a common theme, and that is just laying hardware bare without a case. For some reason, a lot of people are doing that. Not sure why, but I mean, if it works for you, sure. And we also have a touch screen with what looks like a KVM output or a screen output of the home server. And a pretty big router actually. I don't know if it's just the distortion of the picture or whatever, but it does look slightly bigger than the Mini TX motherboard. So let's take a look at the description. Hey, want to share my rig. CPU, AMD Ryzen 5 Pro 4650G, motherboard, ASRock A520M ITX, 3D printed case in the future, so there is going to be a case at some point, that's great to hear. A Xiaomi router also, so this huge thing with Wi-Fi antennas is a Xiaomi router. So yeah, actually it's really nice to see the same setup that I used to run with the ASRock A520M ITX motherboard. I actually have one somewhere lying around still, and the AMD Ryzen 4650G. I've already made a video about that. It's a great CPU, you know, ECC support plus internal graphics, so pretty neat. Power consumption per month, 26 kilowatt per hour, 162 rubles or 1.56 euro per month. That's pretty cheap actually. I don't like SSH, so I use a remote desktop. It's more familiar to me, although I connect remotely and still work in the terminal. Okay. And when RD doesn't work, I use a mini touchscreen display to fix it, lol. I keep it simple, try not to install everything, although I really like experiments because it will probably die one day for my SU privileges. I feel that, absolutely. And if it works with a touchscreen for you, I mean, sure, why not? Once again, great Homelab, very compact, you know, very unassuming, I guess. And I hope that you do print that case sooner than later. So our next submission is from Dylan. let's take a look at the pictures. So this is kind of a messy desk setup, although to be honest, my desk does not look any better right now. We got a dumbbell on the floor. Is this actually one of those Shinobi Text keyboards with the track point nipple? That's pretty nice. I haven't seen one of those in a while actually. So this is a PC case. I think it's actually a rack case that is like kind of mounted vertically instead of horizontally. I've seen some setup with the desks where people just mod their desks to add like rack enclosure capabilities. But the author of this picture, they seem to just kind of strap it vertically with one of those straps for PC tower cases. So I guess that's one way. We got a server rack with a bunch of stuff. This Raspberry Pi is not doing very well. There seems to be a lot of network equipment. This switch is saying hi switch. And yeah, we got a Drobo NAS. I haven't seen one of these in a while. Let's take a look at the description. I'm about to move house, so I really have let things get messy. Better for the video, I guess. Okay, that's fair, man. I'm sorry for giving you a flag for that. That's a valid excuse. Pick 2 is a Drobo with 5 4TB drives, soon to move to my parents' house as an offsite backup. Really nice. Parents as an offsite backup, something I do as well. The dangling Pi is running Home Assistant. That's nice to know. But if this Pi ever falls down or something happens, you might lose your smart lights, I guess. So there's that. So yeah, all in all, great setup despite the mess, but you are moving. So hopefully you know, the moving is finished soon and everything is back in its place. So really excited to how it's going to be after the big move. So good luck with that. Our next Homelab is from Blue Fog. So as we can see here, it's a pretty clean setup. Apart from that CPU fan, there seemed to be some dust in there, but all in all, pretty clean. This seems to be a NAS tower case with a ThinkCenter on top. Very clean setup once again. You either built it recently or you just keep it clean, I guess. A Dell Wise PC on the right and a couple of switches in what looks like a cupboard or something. Pretty clean setup once again. And this is the power consumption, 323 watts. So yep, that's a lot of power. And this is all the software that they're running. So we got Radar, Reader, so the whole R stack basically, all the regular suspects. So yeah, once again, pretty nice, pretty compact Homelab, love to see it. The power consumption is kind of on the high side, but hey, if it works for you, it works for you. So our next setup, we got a Mini TX NAS case. I'm forgetting the name of it. I think it's a cooling something. We got a knock to a cooler that just barely fits. Love to see it. Pretty nice cable management as well. So far so good. And oh no. Is this the power supply? This seems to be an LED power supply connected to a Pico PSU. Oh no, please. Please don't do that. The wires that come from the power supply seem to be like glued to like a C14 connector or something. I don't know if it's a glue or some kind of other like goobly goo, but oh my god. This does look pretty dangerous, so I would advise against doing that. But let's take a look at the description. The case was perfect for this build. It doesn't have a huge hole for the PSU, so I could DIY a power plug and screw the PSU behind the front panel. Yeah, so there's no info on this whole power supply situation, which is unfortunate, but I would love to hear more background on that. You know, why this power supply, why the wires are just glued to the C14 connector, and you know, whether this is all as dangerous as it looks to be. But yeah, so far, really nice on the outside, really janky on the inside, just how I love it. Yeah, great setup. Our next one is from X-Ray Cool. So let's take a look at the pictures. Is this a case? Is this like an actual like documents case? Okay, this seems to be the Johnsbow N1 case from the bottom. There's a screwdriver sticking out of it for some reason. And also there's a lot of paint in the wall. I'm not sure if that's like a wallpaper, if that's intentional or not. So this is the same case but like laid on the spine. A bunch of anime figurines and a cat. Yeah, so your sins are forgiven. Don't worry about the dust. Since you put the cat here, this is the perfect Homelab. 10 out of 10, no notes. And this is once again a bare motherboard with actually some stuff in the cardboard box on top of it. So you're supposed to put cardboard box underneath it, not on top of it. So yeah, I have mixed emotions about this. I would mostly like to hear why there's a screwdriver that is keeping the case open, but I guess let's read the description. So no, unfortunately there doesn't seem to be any background on the screwdriver sticking out of the case. So I'm guessing they did that to like show off the hardware inside of it, but yeah, in general, pretty solid Homelab. A bit more dusty, a bit more janky, you know, that is usually accepted for my taste at least. At the same time, there is a cat, so there's that. So all in all, I would give it a 6 out of 10, I think. So this next one is from Connor. So let's take a look at the pictures. Really clean mini rack, really love to see that. A bit of a break from some of the Homelabs on this list. It's right above the monitor, which I don't know if I would trust myself to do that, but you do you. And this seems to be a JBot case, I think, with an HBA and some drives, so that's nice. And this is the main system, really clean once again, really love to see that. So yeah, let's take a look at the description. Hello, hope this makes the video. It did.
Congratulations! Congratulations!
I am 16 and I have purchased and built my Homelab myself for the past year. That's really nice. This is actually pretty cool for a 16-year-old. Your channel has been a big inspiration for my projects. That's always great to hear. I have a power meter in my entire lab, including networking, and I'm currently at 225 watts of draw when the VMs are at idle. Well, with the amount of hardware and with, you know, the kind of power that the hardware provides, this isn't actually that bad. Not something I'll run myself, but if this works for you, great. And once again, really clean Homelab. Great to see the youngsters getting into the hobby as well. Definitely make sure to keep going, and yeah. And the next one is from Con, so let's take a look at the pictures. And oh my god, this everything is on the pegboard. I don't know where to start. I just everywhere I look, it's pain. So this is a low power mini TX motherboard with a 4-NIC PCIe card. There's a fan attached there with zip ties and blowing air from the bottom. Just like a lot of assorted fans just kind of like dangling in there. Hard drives that are just hanging on to their dear lives, just zip tied to the pegboard. Yeah, so I'm kind of scared to look at the description, but I think nothing can be worse than the pictures, so let's take a look at that. Sorry about the low quality image in advance. This was an older NAS that I used in 2020, 2022, so I had to stroll in the archives to find these few pictures. So there's not much information on, you know, why it's on the IKEA pegboard, but I found this pretty cool. The board only had FE NIC, so the next thing I added was a 4-port gigabit NIC. The problem with that is that I don't have any secure way of mounting the NIC, and since it's full size as well, it sags slightly. So occasionally my NAS just stops working and I need to slot the network card back in.
What?
One thing led to another and it became like that. I think that's the best description for all of that. I mean, if it works for you, but it seems like it's not working all the time, but as long as it works sometimes, I think this is a great setup. 10 out of 10. No, but seriously, I'm starting to think that you guys have some kind of aversion to like regular computer cases.
Disgusting!
I don't quite understand that, but I think this needs to be studied. So our next Homelab is from Andy. Let's take a look at the pictures. This is just a Nintendo Switch. There's an Intel NUC. There's like a whole lot of stuff on it. I'm not quite sure what it is. All in this TV console. Pretty compact. Pretty nice. I think I built the most compact home server lab there is. I also had a few tiny mini micro PCs with way more power consumption, complex networking and stuff, but now I have everything I need, I hope. Let's see how much power image consumes in a very small efficient package. The good thing is that normally it runs passive as the fan only spins up over 50 degrees. As you say, it's very compact, you know, you don't even see it. The Wi-Fi approval factor is basically like 10 out of 10, and yeah, I mean, once again, it's not much, but it sips power, and if it works for your needs, that is great, honestly. So yeah, pretty nice. Our next one is from Dimitri. So let's take a look at the pictures. As you can see, there's a Raspberry Pi 5. There are a bunch of parts of the Raspberry Pi 5, some crimping tools for some reason. So that might go in an interesting direction, I guess. Really clean, love it. No wiring whatsoever to see. That's really rare for like a Raspberry Pi setup. You know, usually I'm kind of used to like it being a hodgepodge of like different cables and stuff. So it looks to be a Raspberry Pi, an NVMe drive, and 2 SATA drives. And here it is in the cupboard, neatly cable managed. And here you can see the power consumption, 14.2 watts. It's a bit high for Raspberry Pi setup, a bit more than I would expect, but maybe there will be some more information about that in the description. Just wanted to build centralized storage for photos, memories, and important documents. Also, I use the Raspberry Pi 5 build for monitoring system to collect the metrics from the rest of the infrastructure, like another Raspberry Pi 4 with Pi-hole, Cloudflare D for DOH, and Homepage on the background, and the server for virtualization, which will be built in the future. And the whole Homelab, so Raspberry Pi 5, Raspberry Pi 4, a 2.5 gig unmanaged switch, is just 14.5 watt idle. So that's what it is, I guess, on the picture. It's just showing the whole Homelab. So for a whole Homelab, that's actually really decent.
Nice.
Our next Homelab is from Sergio, I'm sorry, I'm not sure. So let's take a look at the picture. What is going on here? I'm really trying to understand it, but it looks like one of those older like AI generated images where like, you know, nothing makes sense. I guess that the gray and red parts are cable management ducts, and these look like 2 Raspberry Pis. This looks like a NUC or a mini PC. This is a router, and this might be like a vent or a duct or something.
You sussy baka.
So this is the Unraid main page. So yes, it is a main PC. So I'm guessing that this is an HP Elite Desk. And for the rest, I guess let's take a look at the description, because yeah. Here's my Homelab running Unraid. At the core is HP Elite Desk Mini 800G3. 1 router from the internet provider, so not a vent, I guess. 1 Asus RT AC68U. Power consumption 36 watts at idle, including routers. Only server is 15 watt idle. So yeah, once again pretty decent. And once again, I don't know what kind of problem you guys have with like regular normal computer cases, but yeah, I love it. Our next one is from Paul, or Paul, I'm not sure exactly. Let's take a look at the pictures, and once again, it is on the wall.
You can't keep getting away with it!
Alright, at this point, I have to respect it. This is the 3rd Homelab today that is just like computer hardware like on the wall for some reason. It's a thing. So we get a closer look, 2.5 inch drives, a huge, humongous CPU cooler, a super old Kingston flash drive, I believe I had one of those in 2004, an Ethernet cable, and actually these are 3 2.5 drives and not 2. This is once again the Unraid main page, so Fujitsu D3400B1, Intel Core i5 6500, and 16 gigs of RAM, so pretty nice. Oh yeah, and this is also the power consumption, so 17.5 watts, pretty good for a system like this. I'm just wondering why it is on the wall, so maybe we'll be able to glean some more information about that from the description. Unfortunately, the description is in German, so we'll have to kind of translate on the go. The system runs Unraid. The server is being used mostly as a NAS and for some Docker containers. The power consumption can be seen on the images. I have a feeling that the power consumption is a bit too high for the setup. Do you have any tips? Just, you know, try positioning a bit lower on the wall. That might help. But honestly, it could be anything. In general, check the C states, you know, the usual. Hard to say without taking a close look at the setup, but I guess I'll need a ladder for that. So. Our next one is from Georgi, I think. Sorry, really bad with the names. Let's take a look at the pictures, and this looks very unsafe. I don't know what's going on here. I also hope this is not carrying any current. Okay, so let me just get my bearings here. So this is what seems to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 devices plugged into one 220 volt outlet using this monstrous, I don't know what to call it even. It's like the Tower of Doom. We can also see a hole in the wall just behind it. A lot of wiring, just like a huge amount of cables. Raspberry Pi 4, a router, a switch, and a Synology NAS somewhere underneath. And yep, thank you for a closer look at this traumatic experience. Yeah, this is actually like what it like the thing behind it looks to be an electric panel. So great placement. I mean, like, it's never a good idea to create this tower of fire hazard in your house, but maybe the worst place to put it is like next to your electric panel. So good job on this one. My setup isn't anything grand, nor very exotic. I would debate that. What it is, however, is a simple starting point for exploration using an RPI. If this isn't interesting to you, you may stop here. Oh yeah, this is very interesting. It is actually very interesting. I don't know if I would use the word interesting, but it is definitely remarkable. In the pictures, you may see that I'm merging two cables into one. Long story short, the TV box from the ISP requires an external network. It doesn't work behind the NAT, and there's only one Ethernet outlet around it. So I'm sending two 100 megabit signals down the wire. Gotta do what you gotta do. Honestly, Georgi, this is the least of my concerns. Please stay safe and maybe replace like that Tower of Doom with like a power strip, you know, those still exist. Our next one is from Jake, so let's take a look at the pictures. This is what looks to be a Zima board with a SATA PCIe card that is loosely attached to like a 3D printed tower full of 3.5-inch hard drives. Sorry, this took a little time for me to like even describe what this is. Yep, that's a lot of storage. Yep. Oh god. So this seems to be a server power supply that actually says bad on it, like with the marker. Like it actually says bad. Yeah, this doesn't look very safe also, but it does look a bit safer than the previous one. Sorry, nothing personal, Georgi. Definitely an interesting setup. Unique one, and let's take a look at the description. I call it the backup stack up. It's a Zima board A32 with some crappy temp port SATA card, 3D printed hard drive stacking things from whatever colors I was trying to use up at the time, and an old Dell desktop power supply that has a fried motherboard connector. Oh, okay, so it's not like bad. It's all held together with hard drive screws and zip ties. The 12-volt CPU rail cable from the PSU is hacked off to fit a 12-volt plug to power the Zima board, and somehow with a couple of daisy-chained SATA power splitters, there's enough amps in the PSU to power all 10 hard drives. I'm finally dismantling it soon to use most of the drives in the CWWK Johnsbow N3 build. Oh no! I mean, I would do the same thing, but it's kind of sad to lose something so unique. I will give this one 9 out of 10. Our next Homelab setup is from Paco. So let's take a look at the images. So this seems to be a 12-volt DIN rail power supply loosely connected to a mini PC, and there's also a SATA card going out of the mini PC. Apart from like the obvious, fact that this is like a really weird and unconventional setup, it's actually fairly clean. So like if I absolutely had to mount my stuff in like like a electrical cabinet or something, I guess I would be pretty happy with that setup. Let's take a look at the description. Pictures attached. Hardware: DIN rail as a base for all the components with standard or 3D printed brackets. Beeling SCR5, Ryzen 5560U, custom power supply from recovered Phoenix Contact PSU and buck converters. I trust the PSU, but the buck converters are fused, smoke alarm revised, and fingers crossed. Weird to say that, but like out of all the Homelab setups that we looked at today, this is not even like the most, fire hazard one, so take it as you wish. Power consumption around 20 watts at idle, 32 watts if I include the MikroTik router and home fiber modem. Pretty decent, once again. Unconventional setup for sure, but pretty unique and cool. Kudos. Our next setup is from James, so let's take a look at the picture. This one is called cat.jpg. Not disappointed, it is a cat. And the server is basically a laptop motherboard. Oh, and there's also a monitor, and this all seems to be attached to like some kind of a wooden bracket. Weirdly enough, not the most janky setup I've seen today. For context, this Dell G15 used to be a gaming laptop from a mate until the hinge failed. This laptop cannot post without the LCD connected, even with the headless activated in BIOS. That's really annoying. A wooden painting frame was used to support the laptop, with Proxmox being the hypervisor, and the NVIDIA 1650 mobile GPU passed through to an OMV VM running Jellyfin. This system lasted about 6 months, until it suffered a death blow from my house cat, slamming it face down. I mean, Forgive him. Forgive him right now. I only have one picture of the system, but I've attached my cat as supporting evidence. This is more than enough. Amazing backstory, RIP server, but you know, cats will be cats. You know, what you gotta do. Our next one is from Tim, so let's take a look at it. NAS case 2004. We got the inside of the case, so it looks like he put the new hardware in like a 2004 case. Very nice. Ooh, this is like a sleeper build. Windows XP, Intel Inside, Pentium 4. So this is a Fujitsu Siemens, haven't seen that one in a while, Scalio 600. So that's a real treasure right here. And it looks like this part is also like 3D printed to maybe allow for like some modern amenities, like 3.5 jacks and USB ports. Though I think my 2004 PC already had USB ports, so maybe that's just kind of what the case looks like. I also like the fact that like the side panels are completely like pristinely white and the front is like completely yellowed out, so and this is the original system, at least judging by the picture quality. That is a lot of PCIe slots and also an ISA slot, I think. If any of you remember one of these, though looking at my demographics, I think most of you will. The case is from an old computer from 2004, and I 3D printed a custom front panel for it, so yeah, that's what I thought. The CPU and motherboard are repurposed from another old office computer, while the rest of the components are more recent, 2022. To save on power, the NAS is currently running passively without any fans. I'm not sure how much you will save just by not including the fans. There will probably be other like savings to be had before you will have to actually shut down the fans, but once again, if it works for you, go for it. So Intel i5 6500, 32 gigs of RAM, 2 hard drives, no SSD, alright. Power consumption 15 watt at idle, up to 50 watt under load. I think in this case, what might actually help reduce the power consumption is using SSD, at least for the operating system and like for Docker containers and VMs. I think that will go a long way, and you know, maybe in exchange you could like add some fans and make your system not die of heat. But yeah, all in all, I really like it. Once again, very unique setup. Love sleeper builds. Also love what you did with the 3D printed panel. So yeah, nothing much to say here. A really nice setup. Yeah. Our next setup is from Sudge64. So this is a networking rack made out of wood. Love the DIY stuff. Also love the cabling, really clean. Also a nice like big old red server at the bottom there. Also love that. This seems to be a capture card. I actually have the exact same one like somewhere in a closet. Maybe this is like some kind of a KVM solution. Let's take a look at the text description. The first image shows my custom built wooden server rack that I made out of $20 worth of 2" by 2" lumber, coupled with 2 sets of 16 new rack rails. It holds the entirety of my Homelab equipment. Really nice. I mean, like, I wouldn't be able to make that. I'm terrible with like woodworking and like, you know, handy stuff in general, but this is a pretty nice budget solution, I think. On to the second picture. It's my low budget KVM solution. I found this EVGA XR1 Lite on eBay for 40% off MSRP. I have it plugged into everything that I want video from. I also have the Logitech K400 that I moved the dongle around when SSH is not an option. I'm looking forward to SiPeed's Nano KVM being open sourced. Yeah, once again, love the DIY stuff. You also made it look very clean with all that cabling. Very nice KVM solution, even though it does look a bit janky, but once again, if it works, it works. So yeah. Our next setup is from Mark, so let's take a look at it. The folder is called Mark Janky Home Setup, so that doesn't really give me a lot of confidence. Okay. There is a half open laptop somewhere there. There are 2 Raspberry Pis. There are at least 3 power strips, or maybe those are actually like outlets. I'm not sure exactly. And all of this, once again, is an electric cupboard slash electric panel thingy, fuse box, whatever you call it. A lot of cardboard boxes, also adding to that fire hazard rating, I guess. Yeah, oh, there's also a Zixel modem. All of this is, once again, an electric slash water cupboard. Yep, that's pretty much it. Oh my god, and there's also laptop power supply just hanging in there. Oh, and he's also Dutch. You know, this one says for in Schalken van Gotta give them props for ingenuity. Mild fire hazard. Oh, I've also just noticed that this power strip is hanging on a hook, like a clothing, like a coat hook. And there is also a text description. Hello Wolfgang, how are you doing? I was doing great before looking at this. My name is Mark and I saw your post about sharing your janky setup and thought, let me share my beauty with you as well. I use a Dell Latitude 5520 as a home server and it is placed in the hallway closet where the electricity and gas meters are mounted. The laptop is open and standing on its side in the closet because it wouldn't fit otherwise. Since the screen is broken, leaving it on the side works out well as the laptop doesn't go into standby mode. Yeah, I was just about to suggest that, you might get more space in there by taking off the top part of the laptop, so with the screen, but at the same time, this kind of makes it stand on its own, so I guess it's a win-win. Once again, I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, but a very unique setup, bit of a fire hazard, still big props for the ingenuity, I guess, and yeah, maybe do something with that power brick, because this out of all things on this picture, this looks the least safe to me. Our next setup is from Felix, so let's take a look at the pictures. This looks to be a half rack 3U thingy. I think it's like an Intel NUC module or like a compute module or something. There's definitely an Intel SSD in there, so like Intel Optane. And this USB thing just goes into the back of the case. Oh, it's an HDMI. Okay, sorry. And there are 3 of them. That's pretty amazing, actually. You can also see a keystone jack for Ethernet. The front panel is just kind of hanging in there. And those actually seem to be custom made, so that's really nice. There are some ventilation holes. There are 2 40mm fan mounts. Really nice, really curious to see how it all came about. Sending some pics of my forever work in progress cluster of 3 Lenovo Tiny M72 Qs. They really got once I put 10 gift cards in them.
What?
So I designed and printed 10-inch rack cases for them where they can sit naked instead. That also means that I could fit a SATA SSD for Ceph in addition to the PCIe NIC. Okay, so this 2SFP Plus port situation is just the PCIe NIC. Okay, got it. They're all running Proxmox with Home Assistant, Zigbee to MQTT, a reverse proxy, a Minecraft server, and some R stuff. Okay, once again, really cool setup, really unique. Glad you shared this. And this is actually a bit less of a fire hazard than the rest of the setups in this compilation, so kudos for that. All in all, not sure what you mean with the gift cards, still a bit perplexed about that, but in general, really great setup. Our next setup is from Eden, and is this like an actual CV for Homelab? Aiden made like a whole PDF with his Homelab, so it's like a timeline situation. There's a table with all the parts. That's like a lot of effort. Wow, that's a lot to take in. The server itself seems to be a Threadripper, I think. Let's just consult our table of parts. So yep, this is Ryzen Threadripper Pro 7965WX. I think this is actually a 5U case, kind of sitting in there, like not really in a rack, just on a cardboard box. That's a lot of stuff in Unraid. I didn't actually know that Unraid could show you the disk location, so that's pretty neat. That's a lot of cores also. I think like out of all the setups that we've seen today, this is like the most overkill one. There are also 2 GPUs, a 1.5 kilowatt power supply, 8 Noctua fans, 5 more Noctua fans, so that's like what, 13? A crap ton of hard drive storage, also a crap ton of SSD storage as well. What can I say? I mean, this is really overkill in the best way possible. I love the little bit of RGB, also a perfect number of Noctua fans, of course, and yeah, hopefully this finds its place in a rack sooner than later, but all in all, really great setup. Hopefully you're doing something amazing with it. But looking at the Unraid web UI, it seems that you're doing a lot with it, so yeah. Our last setup for today is from Manual, so let's take a look at the pictures. This is a Johnsbow N3 case, I think. We got an all black fan setup, a Noctua fan, Corsair SF600, 2 SSDs with a 3D printed mount. Really clean setup, really like it so far. All black also, apart from the cables. Yeah, these seem to be crucial SSDs. This is the rear side of the backplane. Yep, really clean. Once again, an ancient flash drive. Yeah, I would say this is a nice break from all the crazy setups so far. So let's take a look at the description. Hi Wolfgang, here's my recently finished build. I'm still setting it up to replace my ancient power-hungry server, but once moved over, it will be used for e.g. backups, Jellyfin, Nextcloud, Paperless, TeslaMate, Unify controller, a couple of VMs, etc. Oh, he actually made some custom cables with perfect length. Really nice. I mean, you can see that a lot of effort went into it. You know, there's some 3D printed parts, there's some custom made cables, so that's really neat. All in all, great setup, not crazy, nothing, you know, super like wow, overkill, or no stuff in the breaker box or whatever, but good to see also. So that's gonna be it for today. My voice is raspy, my Homelab brain is expanded. I've seen a lot of very crazy stuff, and I guess to sum it up, I've seen a lot of setups without a proper computer case. I've seen more than 2 setups in the breaker box for some reason. I've seen some really crazy stuff, I've seen some overkill stuff, but all in all, guys, huge thanks for sending over your Homelabs. It was really fun to go through them, and I hope you liked this video. I do not have my teleprompter with all the Patreon names, so they should be going like down here. Please don't unsubscribe because I didn't mention your name in this particular video. But other than that, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.